Hey, folks, doing more searching than streaming these days? Well, HBO Max is a new streaming platform where all of HBO meets the greatest collection of movies and shows. It's all of HBO series like Game of Thrones and Insecure, plus blockbuster movies like A Star is Born and timeless classics like Citizen Kane. Beloved TV shows like Friends, new Max originals for all ages, and all your favorites, all in one place for just $14.99 per month. Start streaming today. Download the app or visit HBOMax.com to start your free trial. Free trial is for new customers only. Restrictions apply.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers? What the fuck buddies? What the fuck nicks? What the fuckadelics? What's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my show. Has anybody seen the light? I want to know. Has anybody seen the light? God damn it, please. Please. I have to stay in the present, man. I really do. I guess that's the goal that most of us do you aspire to that? Do you? I mean, you know, when people say be present or, you know, the here, the now, this is it, what, like right now, everything's okay right now. Is it? Today I talked to Stacey Abrams. I talked to Stacey Abrams on Tuesday, Election Day. So when the shit was going down in Georgia, all that malfeasance, all that fucked upness, broken machines, intentional chaos reaped upon the voting public of Georgia by Governor Brian Kemp and his allies. And I'm not being political here. This is fact. So that was going on when I talked to Stacey. So that's what we're referring to at the beginning of the business of the talk. And I'll get to that. Should check in with you guys. What day? When did I talk to you last? Monday? It's been a rough couple of days here. I think it all kind of settled in. The passing of my girlfriend Lynn Shelton. The arc, this is week 4, coming into the end of week 4 since she passed. A lot fewer people are checking in, which is normal. Kind of abruptly sort of dissipates. The people that I've been talking to every day, I talk to, I cry to. But the aloneness, I don't know if I want to call it loneliness yet, but the aloneness, the reality of aloneness. I guess this is what happens in grief. I mean, loneliness is some kind of yearning. I was two, we were one, now I am one. The weight of that kind of hit me. A couple nights ago, I'm just sitting there and I realize the loss just hits me, just like breaks me down, just opens me fucking up. You know, like, she's gone. All of that we had, everything was sweet. Now it's gone. It's all gone. It's just like my life is a different life. Man, I fucking howled. I called my friend Steve. I think it's better to have someone to howl with or at. A witness, a receiver, somebody holding the space so you can do it. And then that night, I put on Dave Cross special, Slappy. Me and Dave sort of started out together. I've known Dave. I don't know if I know him. Do you know? We're not part of each other's life. there's so many people who I've come up with or I know from around. But, I used to live in this weird old fucking house with Dave, and I really wanted him to be my friend. And we were friends for a while in Boston. But we didn't stay part of each other's lives. I don't know how people do that. There's so few people that I have that have remained part of their life. But he represented a time in my life where I was crazy and tormented and angry, but we were doing comedy and broke in Boston playing softball. I used to watch him get up there and just do his crazy shit. He's very defined, Dave, Cross is uniquely Cross. So I watched his most recent special. I just wanted some relief or something. But I found myself kind of getting nostalgic, the familiarity of just hearing a voice that, I knew in my 20s. Made me feel better. It wasn't a matter of the material or anything. It was just seeing that guy, Dave Cross, who, we used to sit on a couch in Somerville, Massachusetts, in a shitty apartment. And there's a few of us living there. And Dave would just do the crossword. And I would sleep on the couch. And if he spent the night at his girlfriend's house, I could sleep in that room. But anyways, just connecting the heart to the old days seemed to make me feel better. Let's shift gears into what's happening. Stacey Abrams is the founder of Fair Fight Action. She's the former minority leader of the Georgia House of Representatives and the only black woman ever nominated for governor by a major party. She's been mentioned as a possible vice presidential candidate for the Democratic Party. Her new book, which I've been reading, is out now. It's called Our Time Is Now, Power, Purpose, and the Fight for a Fair America. This is addressing, what is happening from this point of view, from the point of view of fixing the system, primarily enabling people to vote, getting people engaged, trying to, it's an interesting sort of solution in the sense of like you have these protests which are meaningful and powerful and having an impact. And then when you break it all down, voting, being able to vote, having your vote be counted, is engaging in the civic process is really how democracy works. And, we had to talk about this stuff. This wasn't the standard kind of WTF chat. A little bit, but it was like we were dealing with stuff. Now, before I talk to Stacey or share it with you, I want to share a clip of a past guest. It was 5 years ago next week that President Barack Obama did this show. The interview itself with President Obama was 2 days after a racially motivated church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. It was also less than a year removed from unrest over police brutality incidents in places like Ferguson and Baltimore. And the first part of what he said in this clip that I'm going to play for you got a lot of attention at the time, mostly because people only focused on a word he referenced. But the second part was just as important and has like a tremendous amount of resonance today, particularly what he said about police reform. Let's listen. This horrible thing happens Wednesday, and you have these police actions in Baltimore and Ferguson. I mean, right. Where coming from where you came from,
right,
and trying to define yourself in terms of the African American community,
right,
and in terms of racial relations. Where are we with that in terms of when you came in your mind?
Well, first of all, I always tell young people in particular, do not say that nothing's changed when it comes to race in America unless you lived through being a black man in the 1950s or 60s
mm-hmm.
or 70s. It is incontrovertible that race relations have improved significantly during my lifetime and yours, and that opportunities have opened up and that attitudes have changed.
Yeah.
That is a fact. What is also true is that the legacy of slavery, Jim Crow, discrimination in almost every institution of our lives, that casts a long shadow. And that's still part of our DNA. That's passed on. We're not cured of it. Racism. We are not cured of.
Clearly.
And it's not just a matter of it not being polite to say nigger in public. That's not the measure of whether racism still exists or not. It's not just a matter of overt discrimination. Societies don't overnight completely erase everything that happened 200 to 300 years prior. And so what I tried to describe in the Selma speech that I gave, commemorating the march there, was, again, a notion that progress is real and we have to take hope from that progress. But what is also real is that the march isn't over and the work is not yet completed. And then our job is to try in very concrete ways to figure out what more can we do. So let's take the example of police practices. Cops have a really tough job.
Yep.
And part of the reason cops have a tough job, particularly in big cities, is that there are communities that are poor, are systematically locked out of opportunity, that suffer from legacies of discrimination that have been built up over generations. And we send cops in there basically to say, keep those folks from making too much trouble.
But how do we fix what you just said?
Right. Well, I'm going to get to that. So the point is, though, that we can break it out into these component parts, and we can say, number one, there are specific ways that we can make police-community relations better and police more accountable.
Yeah.
And so we put together a task force with police officers and young people, including some of the folks who led the Ferguson marches. Mm-hmm. And surprisingly, they came up with a consensus of things that could be done that would make things better. All right, so let's implement those. Now, in the meantime, what are we doing to help those lowest income communities? We know that, for example, early childhood education works. That is one way to break the legacy of racism and poverty. If a 3-year-old, 4-year-old kid is in an environment of love and is getting a good meal,
right,
and has a teacher that's trained in early childhood development and is hearing enough words and is being engaged enough, they can get to where a middle-class kid is pretty quickly.
Is that happening?
It turns out it is, but the problem is that it happens spottily, right? It happens in this community or this school district or this neighborhood or this outstanding principal is making something happen or this philanthropist has decided to do something. But what hasn't happened is us making a collective commitment to do it. So the point I'm making is that when you look at how to deal with racism, mm-hmm, how to deal with issues of some of the police shootings that have been involved, I'm less interested in having an ideological conversation than I am looking at what has worked in the past, mm-hmm, and applying it and scaling up. What is required is a sense on the part of all of us that what happens to those kids matters to me, even if I never meet them, because my society is going to be better off. I'm going to feel better about the America I live in, and over time, I'm confident that my children and my grandchildren are going to live a better life if those kids also have opportunity. That's where we have to feel hopeful, rather than just say that nothing's changed. We have to say, wow, we've actually made significant progress over the last 50 years. If we made as much progress over the next 10 years as we have over the last 50, things would be better. And that's within our grasp. It's available to us. And this is where, again, you want to get to those decent, well-meaning